we see the police cross the street, it's time to get up out of there. I've traveled some rocky roads in my life. I started out at 12 years old. Like I said, the neighborhood that I lived in, nobody aspired to be a doctor.
Right.
Nobody aspired to be an engineer or a pilot and stuff like that. In my neighborhood, in the era of time that I grew up in, the TV shows, my favorite TV show was It Takes a Thief. That was a show that came on in the 60s and 70s. It Takes a Thief. It was about a guy named Alexander Monday.
Yeah.
Called him Al Monday. And his job every episode was to steal something that was coveted, something that was extremely hard to steal. I mean, you had to go scale buildings and all kind of stuff, and you had to come down had to cut a hole in the ceiling and come down in the middle of the museum without touching the floor, and then get the diamond out of the case that was in the middle of the floor, and then climb back up. And then there was another show that was called Harry in Your Pocket.
Yeah.
And that was about a pickpocket team. And they their thing was to be able to pickpocket people. And they showed you the intricacies of pickpocketing. Then you had Bonnie and Clyde. You had John Dillinger. You had Pretty Boy Floyd, Babyface Nelson. You had, those people were my heroes.
Right.
Those were the people that I aspired not necessarily to be, but to be better than. And so did everybody in my neighborhood. So we established crews. They call them gangs now, but we call them crews.
Right.
But we had crime crews. We had burglary crews. And we start putting emphasis in being able to break in stuff that can't be broke into.
Right.
We start stealing cars. There at a young age, I start armed robbery. I was robbing people with a gun at 13 and 12 years old. And just to show you how warped minded we were at the time, there were two guys in our neighborhood that got shot by a motel worker.
Right.
An old man that worked at this motel. He had a reputation of not taking no shit. You go up in there to rob him, you better have yourself together. And he shot a friend of mine named George Taylor. So instead of taking that as a sign to say, hey,
it's time to
rob
stop.
anything, you better not rob him.
Right.
But what it had adverse effects on us. Our thing was we were determined we were going to rob him.
Right.
That particular motel. And we did. Me and three of my friends, we went up there on a school night. School is the next morning.
Right.
8th grade. And we went and we robbed the motel. And as we were coming out on a busy street, a police was checking he didn't even know what was going on right across the street. And I mean, a big glass window, bigger than that. But he can plainly see in there, but he don't know what's going on in there. And he's not sitting there looking in there. He's doing paperwork. So, mind you, this guy has already shot someone.
Right.
Trying to rob him. So, but when we see the police cross the street, it's time to get up out of there. And I had the gun and almost got my friend killed because I panicked and almost left him up in there. But I realized what I was doing and told my friend, come from behind the counter now. Come, police. So at any rate, we backed out, and from the time we walked out of there, it was like a full-fledged chase with the police because he's seen it now. Because the man in the window now, he could see it.
Right.
So straight up out of there. So we running, made it back up into the projects, and we got away with that. And then we had there was a gun shop in our town
Right.
that we went in, and that made the news. That it had to be done by highly trained professionals, all on the news and stuff. Lo and behold, it was these project kids, and didn't know what to do with all these guns.
Right.
I mean, I ain't no more than 13 years old. Hell, I'm gonna do with guns like this. So, make a long story short, one of the guys that broke in there with us had an older brother. His older brother were gonna get them all for us. Needless to say, we never seen any more of the guns. But that right there was indicative of how I spent my days as a youth trying to figure out what crime we're going to commit. It was a status symbol to come back uptown to the projects with
This is what I've got. This is what we got.
with a knot of money. But when I was in the 9th grade, I was standing on a corner, and all of the older guys in my neighborhood knew me as that little young, crazy ass youngin'.